Welcome, everybody. Dan United. I've got Tez tonight, but before we start... Good evening, everybody. It's practically Thursday night. It's bank holiday at 5 p.m. tomorrow for me, so I'm in a buzzing mood today. I'm absolutely thrilled. And also, it helps with some of the news that's happened transfer-wise with United, which we'll go into. We've also got the fact the FA are doing their absolute best, as always, to try and screw our season over. But before we start, Tezki is in the house. Tezki, how are you doing, my man?
Yeah, all good, man. Nice to be back. It's been a little while, but all good to be here. Thank you.
Mate, it's a pleasure as always. We were talking off air how different it is from a year ago. Us talking on the Red Men TV, the Red Cartel, having to catch stray after stray after stray. Every other club telling us how shit we are, and now it's like, hang on a second, quietly and slowly but surely we've risen. So it's been a season. And before we get into everything, what have you made of the season, mate?
It's been like literally in two halves. Obviously, from the beginning of the season, I kind of stated that I didn't think Amarin should have been in charge. I think he was allowed to stay just because the board didn't have a backup plan, and they were a bit scared of kind of being too hastily because of, Ten Hag the previous year and a half prior. And I think they wanted to kind of see through their own, appointment of, this is our guy, let's give him as much time as possible. But I think the writing was on the wall as soon as the Tottenham game happened and we lost that and we were not in the Champions League for the following season. But I think since Carrick's come in, he's done a lot of common sense things. I know some people are downplaying it, saying like, oh, that's what, all the fans would have said. But realistically, just because fans or people in the media said, this is the right thing to do, for the players to actually, adapt to it and show that they are capable and better than what they were showing under Amarin, shows that Amarin was actually stifling a lot of the players.
Agree.
Because, you've seen the improvement, and not to go overboard saying United are amazing or anything, but, the signings came in the summertime, and you would think, okay, if you're able to platform 4 or 5 of these attackers at the same time in a balanced way, then United should beat most teams in the league. And some performances haven't been amazing, but we just look like a competent team. Like United concede, you don't think, oh, game's done.
Correct.
Or they're going to panic. You just think, okay, there's lots of football to play, and we'll come back into the game. So yeah, so far so good. Hopefully it continues. We've still got 7 tough games left of the season, but I think in the way the form has been going, I think there's plenty of room to be optimistic about.
I agree, and like, I echo what you're saying there about us knowing that Amarin wasn't the right guy. I mean, I think a lot of us were practically screaming about the formation, and the formation is the formation, but ultimately the players that we had available to us in the right formation were going to be problematic for most teams that they play. Now, ultimately, we're not in the Champions League. We're not in Europe this season. That was the cross we had to bear, unfortunately, after last season. But I just think we always talk about this new manager bounce, and it happens. We've seen it happen so many times. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to happen in Spurs' world, but that is a Spurs world that we seem to be living in. But what I will say is, it's like what you said. Manchester United seem to be going about things, the basics, the correct way. And when you said about we go a goal down, we were so used to under Amarin going, well, that's it, we're ruined here. Whereas going a goal down now with United, it's kind of like sort of years ago where you go, well, we're going to get a chance. They're going to have a chance. And they've shown that, dare I say, never say die attitude. It isn't over till it's over. And what I will say is I think a lot of the senior players, I think they've stepped up since Carrick's got there, because they're dealing with a manager who has been there and done it with Manchester United as a player.
Yeah, I would agree on that. And I think leading with the senior player and the seniority, yes, okay, it's been frustrating that, maybe Sesko hasn't started as many games, or a few other maybe Carrington products that you want to play more regularly haven't been given time. But I think Carrick did the right thing. As soon as, United played against City, it was very much so, Maguire's fit, I'm going to play Maguire. Lissandro's fit, I'm going to play Lissandro. Shaw's fit, I'm going to play Shaw. And Dallo, and it was like, that's a back four that's been at the club for some of them more than 5-6 years, but totality across the back line, they'd all been there for at least 4 years plus.
Yeah.
They'd all been there since Ten Hag's first season. So it was a case of like, let's go back to tried and tested. And then on top of that, let's then go back to a formation or playing players in roles that they're all comfortable with. So even if things aren't going well, they're in the right position on the field to try and solve it for themselves. So I think that's definitely been the positive. And fair play to some of those players, because yes, Maguire had good moments this season, but he wasn't playing regularly, and he had been injured.
Yeah.
And he came straight back in. Kobbie Mainoo, we know, wasn't playing at all. Comes straight back in. He plays every single minute of every game when he can. And even players like, Sesko has had to kind of bide his time, but there was moments where he just didn't look like he was going to score.
Yeah.
And now you think he's going to score in every single game he plays. So, yeah, testament to the players as well as the coaches as well.
Absolutely. We'll run through some of these comments and we'll get into the nitty and gritty of it. Big up, it looks Carpy. Good to see you, mate. He says a big thumbs up to Tezky. Jamie, good to see you, mate. He says, hey, Dan and OGs, hope all is well. Good evening, Andy. Good to see you, mate. Big up, Gregory. Good to see you. Another one saying big up, Tezky. 4 Prem in a row says, hi, Dan. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for joining. United says we need to believe Carrick. Win against Leeds is imperative next season. Bring some fresh names and attacking the UCL. Andy's got a question about Carrick, which I'll save for in a bit because that's a good question. I want to get your opinion on that, Tez. And United says, I'm scared of next season if we're going to play like our last 3 games, poor and shite. I don't care. I don't compare us to Liverpool, but look at how they're doing in the UCL and in the league are crap. Look, we'll go into that in a second because there are obviously questions about the squad. And if anybody doesn't follow Tezky on Twitter, on X, I say Twitter, this man breaks everything down. It's something when I see a post, I think I'm going to have a look at the player he's talking about. You very much, Tezky, have sort of a plan A, B, C, D. Right the way through to Z. Honestly, they should be bringing you in the club. Half the time I'm thinking you are actually a scout for the club. But before we carry on with all the players, and big up as well, Queen Sophie, good to see you. I want to talk about this. So this was released today. It says Harry Maguire has been charged after being sent off in the 78th minute of Manchester United's Premier League match against AFC Bournemouth on the 20th of March. It's alleged the defender acted in an improper manner and or used abusive or insultive words or behaviour towards the 4th official following his dismissal. He has until the 2nd of April to comment on it. Now, I saw it. I think we all saw a very angry Maguire storm off the pitch. Now, he did throw some words. I remember looking and, he sort of, as he walked off. Now, I'm going to say something here that, again, we don't talk that much, Tezky, so it's going to be good to hear your opinion on it. Now, in that game, Stuart Attwell was an absolute disgrace for me. If you give him one, you've got to give the other. If he gives the Ahmad one, I genuinely feel like Manchester United, if they score that, it's the game dead and gone because Bournemouth had a couple of chances, but let's be honest, we've not even talked about him. But Lemmy was absolutely outstanding again. He makes it look so simple. Now, there is an element here, right, of we've all played the game not to that level, but when you're sent off, you get angry. Now, I think compound that with the fact that Maguire had obviously seen the decision go against United the other end, it was just as soft, in my opinion. I can't help but look at this and go, this is another case of the FA poking the nose in where they don't need to, when, if anything, I think this has been brought on by poor refereeing yet again in the Premier League. Now, from your part, Tezky, what are your thoughts? Am I being over the top there?
No, I wouldn't say you've been over the top. I think what is interesting is that, I can't think of another player recently who's been kind of chastised for being sent off and charged afterwards, because I'm pretty sure most players, when they get sent off, will have some kind of negative reaction, throw their arms, they might say some stuff. From my memory, I can't really remember Maguire doing anything over the top to where like United players had to hold him back or push him to one side to say like, right, you need to really get off the pitch. It was more so just a genuine kind of like, I don't know, disbelief that he got sent off for. Because obviously in his mind, yes, he did get. I think he was in the wrong, and he did get done by Evan Nielsen, and he was like trying to almost hide that he's made a foul when it was a blatant foul. But I think to then charge him afterwards, I think you set a precedent. If you're going to do that to Maguire, then the next person who gets sent off and does the same thing, you have to be consistent. Otherwise, it just doesn't look or feel as if it's fair, because then you're just, one rule for one rule for the other, which is kind of what you said with the penalty. Like, I don't really think the Ahmad one was a penalty, but when I look back at it, I was like, I can see why it would be given. You've pushed him two hands. He didn't even attempt to get the ball. And then Maguire's done the similar thing, slightly different circumstance, but you've got to at least, you either go to VAR for both, check both and go no or yes. I don't think you can give one and give the other, because I don't think the amount of contact is that different.
Yeah.
It's just how it happened was a bit different. So, I mean, what does the charge actually mean? Does that mean he gets like extra game ban?
Extra game ban. I mean, it can be up to, I think it could be an extra 2 games. I think they can bump it up to 3 games, which I've got to be honest with you, like for United going into this run-in, yes, we are 7 points ahead of Chelsea, and Chelsea have got City next. And effectively, if we beat Leeds, we could be sat here saying, you know what, we're okay. But I think in this run-in, you need your experienced players. And I think to take a player out of our team like Maguire, who doesn't only bring the experience, but the goal-scoring threat at the other end of the pitch, I just think it's ridiculous. And I agree with you. This happened years ago. I remember when Wayne Rooney got done for this years ago, and I went on a massive tirade about it because I'd seen Ashley Cole do it. I'd seen John Terry do it, hurl abuse at referees. And I just kind of feel like, exactly like you said, there has to be consistency, because if they're going to go down this route, well, then surely every player every week is going to be brought up on an FA charge. You're taking that emotion, aren't you?
Yeah, and I sometimes, like, there's receipts of me not being Maguire's biggest fan, but I think he's come back in and he in past performances, he's tried to do too much. He's tried to be the person who, shows how good he is, and then he ends up making a mistake, and it kind of then that trickle effect then spreads through the team. I think since he's come back in, and maybe playing in a back 3 for the first half of the season, probably reset how he would play, because he didn't have to do as much being the centre back. But under Carrick, he's just being very much so, I'm just going to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And only against Bournemouth was probably the first time where he's a bit out of position, and he tried to compensate, and he made the foul. But I think the decision to charge him is a bit over the top. Maybe because it was very much so United are the only team that played on the Friday, and it was all eyes on that game. 2 massive contentious decisions happened, and they felt, oh, we have to do something.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Rooney, as you mentioned. Sometimes the reputation goes against them. They go, oh, it's Rooney. Oh, it's Maguire. It's like, maybe not now, but a few years ago, Granit Xhaka used to just get yellows that other players didn't get yellows for.
Correct.
Yeah. But Fernandinho used to foul everyone every week, and he'd get away with it. So, yeah, maybe it's the reputation as well.
I mean, it's when the FA bring up a charge, it's very rare that it gets overturned. And I think, obviously, what I was looking forward to, obviously, Maguire was going to miss the Leeds game, but against Chelsea, it was looking like Maguire and Lissandro at the back, which would have been brilliant, because I feel like for what we have at the moment, I think they complement each other perfectly, because, Maguire's obviously the guy that's going to go and win everything. Martinez, I've been so impressed with the way he brings the ball out from defence and tries to start attacks, and we've missed that for so long. And actually, I go one further to say that we've missed it since he's been gone, because Yoro has done okay. I think Heaven's more that player, if I'm honest. I think Heaven's more confident on the ball. So it's kind of like, we just want that pairing going. But I mean, actually, to be fair, I will go on to that. There are a couple of comments. I know Queen Sophie says, wasn't Ahmad standing still though? So no movement, and maybe they deemed it as fell over too easy. I don't agree. I think he was knocked off the ball. it's the first hand on him, and then the second hand sort of knocks him completely off his feet there. So I'm not sure I agree with that. And Andy says, quite rightly so, I'm sure we'd all have reacted to that decision appalling. I think so too. Now, just to touch on it slightly before we go into Tonali, because there's some stuff about Tonali we want to talk about. What do you think United need now for the rest of this season, like points-wise? I know they're saying 10 points minimum, but I don't even think it's that, Teska. I mean, I'm not saying I think we're going to go and lose games. I hope we don't, but I kind of feel like with the teams around us, I don't think it's as much as people are making out.
To be safe, so what are United on? 55? Is it 55 they're currently on? In seasons gone by, to get top 4 on average, you need around 66 on average. So 10 points is probably about right because it evens out. I generally think United should probably aim to get more than that, because I think if you aim for 10, you might finish 4th. And I know people might say semantics, 4th, 3rd, not a bigger deal, but I think it does look better, just optics, to be like 3rd, you're closer to the top 2, and it gives you more confidence. I would say the next 2 games are the biggest games. I think if you win the next 2, you're almost there, even though you still need to continue playing. But I think it makes the other games a lot less pressure. Like the pressure of the other games is a lot less, because basically our next 2 games are Leeds at home and Chelsea away. If you go and beat Chelsea, I think you're almost saying Chelsea, you're fighting for 6th and 7th. And if you beat Leeds while Chelsea plays City, and then I think after that, I don't know whether it's the City play in the FA Cup against Liverpool, so they've got tough games, and then they play Arsenal. You never know. Like, things fall in your favour. You might be 4 points behind City by the time, the next game comes, because City are playing Arsenal. And then because United's last couple of games, we played Liverpool, I think, game week 35. You almost want to go into that going, right, we just need to beat them. Like, the score doesn't matter, but we're at home to Liverpool. We just want to go and beat them, and we just need to play with no pressure, rather than we need to beat them because we need to qualify. I think that adds a whole new dynamic to it. So I'd say I still say between 10 and 12 points, just to be really, really safe and secure. Ideally, I'd like to win all of them.
Of course. I love the fact that, again, I'll say it, like, we're talking about there's a world where we're catching City here, and that just shows how far this team has come on since we spoke last. Now, last night, Italy get knocked out of the World Cup. I'm laughing because I can't believe that Italy are going to miss a 3rd World Cup in a row. It's unheard of, from my era of growing up and watching the Italians. Absolutely incredible footballers. We could sit here all night talking about incredible ex-Italian footballers, but then this guy cropped up on my head, and I thought, hang on a second, we were all sitting here. I think a lot of United's communities were sat there going, we need to try and get this done before the World Cup starts. It's going to be quick, and we need to sort it, because if he goes away and has an even better World Cup, then we're almost struggling. It's all changed now. It's all changed, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think it's interesting, because I think the thing with Tonali is that it's not just United who are after him. If the reports are true, it's Arsenal have kind of been after him and speaking to intermediaries and agents since January. United have, City have. There was rumours that he wanted to go back to Italy, but I don't think they're as true. I don't think Italian clubs could afford him, to be honest, either. So it would be probably another European team outside the Premier League if he was to go. I think the interesting thing with Tonali is, like, now that I'm talking about the space on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, now that he's been linked with United so much, people are overly analysing his game.
Correct.
And, like, now some people are saying, like, oh, we don't need Tonali. He's just going to be a slightly better version of Ugarte or Fred. And I disagree. I mean, I do get that he might not be the best on the ball in terms of some of the top quality midfielders, but in terms of what he would bring, he's still only 25. He's been playing top football since he's like 17, 18, 19. He's 25 years of age. He's played in the Premier League for 3-4 years now. He's played in the Champions League. This is probably a good time to sign someone like him. Brings energy, he can carry the ball, he wins the ball back, and he's the type of midfielder that when he's on your team, you're glad he's on your team.
Yeah,
He might have some deficiencies, but you're glad he's on your team rather than he's on the opposition team. And it's good for United to have a bank of different midfielders. Like, how nice is it that, yes, Tonali might come in and we might think, he needs to sit on the bench. Like, when we have that level, we haven't had that maybe since Pogba, Matic, Herrera, where we were thinking, right, actually, Herrera can do a bit of a job in big games, but he'll sit on the bench in this game. We need that level of quality. So, yeah, if he's available, I mean, I would be a fan.
I think, and as soon as he was linked, you had the stories that Bruno had endorsed it. I mean, that's nonsense. We know that Bruno doesn't. Well, I mean, maybe he does have that power, but in a world, Tezky, where I see a Bruno Fernandes and a Tonali, it really gets me giddy, because Tonali, as much as he does what he does for Newcastle, the thing he has an engine, and he goes and goes and goes. And I genuinely feel like that sort of player complements what Bruno Fernandes does for United, because this season, people laugh at me, but I'm still saying he's my player of the season. I think Uncle Casemiro has been fantastic this season, but Uncle Casemiro doesn't have the legs to be that midfielder that we've seen a couple of years ago, getting up there and getting involved in the attacks. He knows his main job predominantly is to sit in front of that back four and just destroy things. I always liken it. I always say this with Cassie. I say I rate him. I rate him twice in games. I rate him on his defensive, because his defensive, let's be honest, a lot of the time is a 7, 8, 9 out of 10. He breaks things up. He's very smart in the way he goes about his business. It's his passing sometimes in games. I go, Cassie, what are you doing? But this guy has been fantastic for us. Now, yes, it's because he's playing one game a week. We completely understand that. If we'd had Champions League, he'd have been knackered. But I think when we talk about upgrades and we talk about what players do, I think Tonali would just come in and absolutely revolutionise that midfield for what we need. And there's a world, mate, as well, where it's not just Tonali we go for. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be money available this summer for United. We know that. So,
yeah, I think the idea from the board is, I mean, I know it's brief that you're looking at 2 midfielders minimum, but I actually think, and a lot of fans would probably echo this, is that you need 3 at least. If you think Mainoo has a lot of discourse over him. I think a lot of people like to talk about what he doesn't do rather than what he does do.
Agree.
He's a fabulous footballer, and I think why he's looked at the way he is because when he plays with someone like Casemiro, if Mainoo is the deepest player back, Casemiro bombs up. Casemiro can't get back, so Mainoo is then on an island. Bruno is obviously there to create and score goals, and if he's ahead of the play as well, our midfield then looks very disjointed. But I think, yeah, you're right in Tonali. I actually don't think Tonali will be brought in directly to be a Casemiro replacement.
Agree. I'm glad you said that.
I think he'll be brought in because we need a player like him, but I think he's more, as you mentioned, the engine. He'll get up and down. You'll probably see Mainoo playing deeper as he has been, with Tonali bombing on ahead of him, but Tonali will be able to get back. That's the difference. Whereas what you're talking about is Casemiro gets into the box, or he's doing 1-2 flicks. Sometimes they come off, sometimes they don't. And then when they don't and we lose the ball, it's like, whoa, where's the midfield?
Yeah.
But that's the risk versus the reward that you take. I think the interesting thing with Tonali will be the price. I think if you're going to go, and I don't think it's true with the quoted like 100 million or something along those lines, but if it is something as high as that, I think you have to be sensible and say you might walk away from that or be willing to, because that is a lot of money for what he'll bring. Whereas initially we were actually linked a little bit with Bruno Guimaraes, and I was more so like, I can get behind that. And I know he's 3-4 years older and stuff like that, but I think Bruno is a little bit more of a, I don't want to say like a developed player, but I think his skill set is a bit more broader than Tonali's.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Tonali's to come in and he was available, I think United need to get there. I think more so because if he is available and he wants to join and you don't go for him, I think Arsenal and City do. And then that's an issue, because you're like, oh, actually, we've now lost someone to our rival, which you never know. It might not be the worst because there might be other players you go for. But I think if he's available for a decent price, then you try and get him.
Yeah, I mean, I want to touch on Cassie because obviously, as I said, I think he's been brilliant this season. I think he's done so well, even when playing in that midfield too with Bruno, where we all knew that midfield was never going to win you a league title. It was never going to get you Champions League. It was never going to win us a cup, as we can see. But with Cassie, again, I love him. I was actually really relieved that we didn't do something silly here and offer him another year contract, because the guy's on what, 350 a week. Champions League, it goes up again, I believe, because he goes into that next pay bracket. And I think he's saying all the right things as well, Tezky, as he's leaving. He's saying, I'm not an emotional guy, but I'll be emotional when I leave this club. And, he's very complimentary about Kobbie Mainoo today. He said, didn't he, he's the present and the future. Does he leave with your well wishes, or do you wish we'd have maybe tried to keep on for one more year?
No, I think it's the right time. It's well wishes. And I think for Ineos and the board, it's not consistent if you then go and say, right, Rashford needs to go, Sancho needs to go. The players who are on the big wages, we're trying to get them out. And then just because of sentiments, we keep Casemiro. Because what you said will probably happen, where you start playing 3 games in a week, he can only play 1. And then you look at that and you go, paying 375 grand for someone to play once a week.
Yeah.
And yes, he will have an impact, but I think if you can split those wages between one new marquee signing and one other signing who will be rotated in and out, you're probably spending your money a bit more wisely, and you get more value because they're probably nearly 10 years younger than him. So you need to think of it in the future. And if you then go and give someone a Casemiro a wage on a year +1 maybe extension, then does Maguire say, well, why is he getting his full wage and I'm getting reduced? And then Shaw's contract and he wants to stay in, and it causes a mess. So I think it's good, and I think it's almost the right time, because it's a case of, Mainoo hasn't played now, he's come back into this team. Casemiro has been doing really well, but we know the deficiencies, and you don't want like an Aubameyang, a Salah, or Ozil, that kind of thing, and then you're like, wow, okay, we need to cut his contract, and pay him off. So, I think score us a couple more goals, maybe get a winner against Chelsea or Liverpool, or last day of the season, get him a few headed opportunities, and then we can all thank him. So I think it'd be it's the right time to let him go.
I think he's got Schweinsteiger written all over him. Schweinsteiger loves us. Every time we win a game, he's always on Twitter, isn't he, or Instagram, with the fist bump. So I think we've got that in him now. Mustafa, good to see you, mate. He says he wants João Gomez or Garner as the third option when Ugarte Casemiro leaves. Now, in January, I still think this is a major fumble we did. We could have got James Garner for pittance, because his contract was due to end at the end of the season. What are your thoughts on Garner as a utility player, Tezky? Because for me, I think Champions League next season, more games. I think that type of player to be in and around the squad, I think would have been a blinder. He's a United player as well, isn't he? He come up through the youth team. What were your thoughts? And also, would you, with João Gomez as well?
First of all, is it Mustafa, or this is not directed to you, so don't take it directed to him. But there's so many United fans clamoring for João Gomez, and I don't understand it. You can't spend 50 million on Ugarte and then go and spend 40, 50 million on João Gomez, who is now older than Ugarte. That does not make any sense in terms of squad building. I do understand the idea of you want to bring in a midfielder who is maybe third choice because, you've already got Mainoo and someone else, and Bruno's always going to play. But you need to think of it from the perspective of a coach, and also financially. You're trying to build a squad and a group of players who are nearly as good as each other. You obviously want some hierarchy, but you want people to think, if I don't play, he's going to take my position.
Yeah.
If we have Mainoo and Tonali, they are not worried João Gomez is going to take his position. And I mean that with respect, because João Gomez is a decent player. But you're not going to go and spend 50 million on him. The reason why a lot of fans think that he's good enough to come to United is because he plays for Wolves and they're going to get relegated. Because if he didn't play for Wolves and he played for maybe Aston Villa and he didn't play as much for Aston Villa and Villa said you could have him for 50 million, I can guarantee you United fans would be like, we're not paying 50 million for a third choice at Villa. So I think the understanding of João Gomez is circumstantial. James Garner, on the other hand, I think he's a lot better player. I think United are in an interesting situation where we need 3 midfielders, but we need one who's got energy, can run, can do a bit of everything. Tonali. You probably want someone like Elliot Anderson who can do what Tonali can do, but he's probably a little bit better on the ball. And then you probably need someone who is a mixture of those, can run, decent on the ball, can get about the pitch, maybe cover for a fullback. And I think Garner would be a good option, especially because obviously, like you said, Carrington, he's broke into the England squad. He might go to the World Cup now as well. He might not play that often, but from where he was a year ago to now, how he's being talked about, it's a massive development leap. The only thing about Garner is selling that to him to say, like, we're going to sign 2 other midfielders, or we're going to sign you and someone else, and you got Mainoo and Bruno. And then he goes, well, I play every week and I get into the England squad. If I go to United and I'm 3rd, 4th choice.
Yeah.
That's the balance. But I think he's a quality player. I think he's really improved on getting on the ball and making things happen. I think he's always had that in him, but he's been a bit safe.
Yeah.
I think in the last year and a half, he's come into being like Everton's main midfielder, because obviously they had Onana as well, and it just again. He played right midfield, he played right back. He didn't always play centre midfield, and now he's like, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
So again, if I'm probably happier to spend maybe not 50 million, but closer to that on someone like Garner than going and getting a João Gomez or another 3rd choice midfielder from a different club.
No, I agree. I mean, to be fair, Mustafa does bring up, and I've been watching this lad a lot this season, and I've been quite impressed with him. Matheus Fernandes from West Ham. Now, this falls into the other bracket, doesn't it? The same bracket of relegation. There are teams there. I mean, obviously Spurs have got some god awful players, but there are 2 teams in Nottingham Forest and West Ham. When you look at some of the players, you go, yeah, take them. And I think Matheus Fernandes, if they go down, I think the premium we would have to pay wouldn't be as high as him staying in the Premier League. This is another lad who's broken into his international team. And I mean, he's another lad that's got the potential. I think the ceiling's quite high with him to come in and do something. So, Matheus Fernandes, what are you saying?
Yeah, I do. And better choice, Mustafa. Better choice. Now you're thinking like how I think. I would say so, because I think Matheus Fernandes is a little bit of a different case of, he's 21, João Gomez is 24, 25. And also he's 21 with almost 3 years experience in the Premier League, which is quite rare. And obviously he was at Southampton. Yeah, they got relegated, but he's like a curious case. And he said recently his idol's actually Bruno Fernandes. And he's kind of in the Portuguese squad with him, and he looks up to him, and he's played as a 10, and he came through at Sporting as well, played as a 10. And then as he's come to the England, he's shown that he's robust enough to play a bit deeper. So I think when you've got that in someone who's only 21, maybe he's also played wide as well. So he gives you like versatility across the midfield. I think he's a good passer of the ball. And I think you've seen in recent games, he's even added like ball striking and long shots to his game. So for me, yes, if you could have a hierarchy out of Matheus Fernandes, Garner, and João Gomes, that's the order I would go, because I think 21 years of age, you get the most upside of it. Really aggressive, he covers the ground, he can do a bit of everything. I think we do need specialists, but I think we need more players who can do a bit of everything.
Correct.
Especially the amount of competitions we're in. But what about you? Do you rate Matheus Fernandes?
I love him, mate, and I'm the same as you. I remember him as a youngster being more advanced, and I think in the Premier League as a midfielder, you've got to have that robustness about you. You've got to be able to be versatile. You can play through the midfield. We talk of a 10, an 8, and a 6. I think this lad's coming into a bit of a time in his life, his development, where he's showing he can do all three. Now, you can't do all three at the same level. I'll take that completely, but I think when you have a lad like that who can play like that, I think he learns from the players around him. I think he's someone you bring in at this age can easily just go from level to level. So he's another one for me, mate. I absolutely, and I put him in the same bracket as you do. I think Fernandes, then Garner, then Jay Gomez. But we all saw this on Instagram. We'll have to speak about it. We've got to speak about it because look, I may look it sometimes, Tezky. You've not seen me on a night out in pop or throwing my shapes. I can look an idiot. I can look a bit of an idiot sometimes. And I don't think it's idiotic of me to say that United are still in the race for this. I know Man City apparently are well ahead, but the big boys seem to keep reporting that United still go in there. Now, if there is a little bit of a chance of getting this lad in, then absolutely that's a dream signing for Manchester United. I just hate it when players do this because Elliot Anderson knows exactly what he's doing. And when he hits send, you can just picture him going, lads, watch this. Send. Bang, 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 here it goes. Everything's so. Look, have you given up? Have you given up the ghost of Anderson coming to United, or do you think there's still a chance there? Am I being foolish, Tezky, for believing? Do I need to put my name in my own book? I put people who are idiots in. Do I need to do that?
No, I think there is. I think there is a chance, and I hope. I know. Reports have come out saying like City are front runners, but it's funny because Anderson probably will wait to see how the season ends because let's say City don't win anything else and they finish second and Pep then says, I've had enough. I'm going to go. And then United finish third, but we finish strong and it's a case of we kind of sell the project to you're the marquee signing, you're going to play week in, week out. And then potentially, when Bruno leaves, whenever that is in a couple of years or whenever, it's kind of your midfield in a sense. Obviously, You have to work for it and stuff. But that project and that trajectory, and also a key thing that people have said, he's from the same place Carrick's from. And they both play for the same, I think it was the under 16s or boyhood school club. So you've got almost like he's the guy who's come from where I've come and done it at this club. And if he's the manager, he might get where I'm from completely. I think the Kobbie thing, he probably did do that just to, rattle some feathers.
Just and get me going, mate. I woke up this morning and I went, Mrs. Robinson. I got my phone. I was like, it's happening. And then I drove to work, and as I was on my 20-minute drive, I was like, you fucking moron. You moron.
I think that goes to the point that I was saying before of like good players recognize good players.
Yeah.
So he's probably like a lot of footballers probably don't have time to watch lots of football, but they might watch the league and they know. And Mainoo's, I think, 2 years younger than Anderson, so maybe they've crossed paths somehow, unders or whatever, under 19, 20, something like that. So he's aware of who's talented in and around his age range, and it's probably like, I can't wait to play with someone like this because that's the type of player I want to play with.
Yeah.
So it might just be a case of, from a selfish point of view, like, this is my friend and I'm happy he's playing again. And we're just reading it as like secret agent Kobbie's kind of.
Mate, I was getting the shirt printed and everything. I was like, that's it now. It's no, and I think it is. I think you're absolutely right. And Queen Sophie's right. I should put my name in the book. This is the thing with football, though. Like, we've been so used the last 2 years of us being absolutely abysmal that it's almost like we have started to become a more attractive project for these players. And if we were going on 12 months ago, say excuse me, we're in the same situation that Spurs are in now, and we're saying, well, we're looking at Anderson and Tonali in the summer. We're sat there laughing because you know, we had the conversation at the start of the season where I said United aren't drinking from the same well as these teams. You know, we are there sort of having to be so sharp with the players we are going to sign this summer. Whereas this summer, we're like, actually, there's a project here that people can look at and get in behind. Now, a name that has been mentioned as well, big up to Andy. And to be fair, Andy's been banging the drum for Stiller for a while. What are your thoughts on Stiller? Because he has been linked, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been linked for a little while, and I was kind of hot on Stiller maybe like over a year ago. I like Stiller. I think he's got a great left foot. I think he's good at progressing the ball. He's obviously more of a give me the ball to feet playmaker. I'm going to find you. You make the run. The only issue with signing someone like Stiller is in my mind, whoever is going to be the other midfielder more than likely might play with Kobbie Mainoo.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking that Mainoo can't run or Mainoo lacks, you know, robustness or physicality, etc., which some of those things are not true. If you now then go and put someone like Stiller next to him, you have to be a really possession-dominated team.
Agree.
And we know that United, we haven't been that in a long time. And even classic United, we are only that against 60% of the opposition. Because sometimes we're just like, we'll run. We used to put in Anderson and Fletcher and Park, and you'd have a Carrick and Scholes who would be the person who is the sat-nav. But those are the players who would do the coverage for them. And then you'd have flying wingers and a striker. So, yes, maybe there is a world where Stiller is the deeper one and you push Mainoo up a bit more like he was under Ten Hag, and it works. But there is also the risk on that. I mean, and obviously, I'm not as big as the whole thing of just sign players from the Prem. I'm very happy for the club to go and sign who best suits the problem that they have. But when I think Stiller now is around 23, 24, and you're looking at, again, maybe around that 50, 60 million mark, you need to just eye it up and think, what's the risk versus the reward? Do you go and get a 24-year-old? Yes, he plays Champions League football, and yes, he's played consistently. But do you go and pay 50 million for a 24-year-old who's never played in the Prem, or you pay 50 million for a Garner or a Fernandes who have played in the Prem, and you at least know that then they're adapting to a team rather than the league?
Yeah, I agree.
But I think he's a good player. But I just think it's weird. It's hard to say. You can't pick one name. You need to pick the two. So I can't just say Stiller, because in my mind I'm like, well, if you get Stiller, then you need to get a Tonali. But if you get Anderson, maybe you can get a Fernandes. I feel like they go in pairs.
Yeah, no, I see it. I hear it. I've spoken about this the last week. I've had these. Oh God, it's bringing me up to hot sweats in the middle of the night. This is Tezki, because I've just got this weird feeling that this saga is not done yet. I've got this weird feeling, and it's obvious. There was reports at the start of the day to say that they'd missed the cut-off point. It was confirmed by Fabrizio that it has not expired. That is there till the end of the season. But as we know, Barcelona don't like paying what they say they're going to pay, and they are trying to now drop the price on someone who I think's had a decent season there. He's got good GNA there in a team where he's up against the Yamals of the world, the Rafinhas of the world. My question is there a world where you see him come back? And I'll sweeten that a little bit. If Carrick stays on, there was reports, and we knew this was going to happen when Carrick come over. We knew there was going to be reports that he was going to try and get Rashford back because he knows him and Rashford respects him. And for me, in my eyes, the chapter is done with Rashford. Like it's done. And I think for Rashford, it wouldn't be fair on him to come back and have that third opportunity, because he could start the season in banging form. He could get 3 or 4 goals and an assist, and you go, oh my God, he's gone to Barca, he's come back, it's a new attitude. But then he has 2 or 3 bad games, and then the United fans pile on and say, this is exactly what we didn't want. So, 2-part question. A, do you think that there is a world where come pre-season we go on the tour, which we'll talk about in a minute, and Rashford's lining up for us? And B, do you think there's a world where actually we say to Barcelona, do you know what? If you're not paying, we'll take him back and we'll just sell him somewhere else?
I think the biggest. So the first question, could I see him back on the tour? I can, because I don't know whether I think Barcelona will wheel and deal to the very last minute, similar to how he went on loan in the first place, because they will know that United want to get him off the books. I think where it becomes difficult or complicated is if he comes back and basically he's still got, I think, 3 years left on a contract.
Yeah.
He's on a big wage. If the idea was to get rid of Casemiro, Sancho, and Rashford and get our big wages, and you try and sign an Anderson or someone, and they go, well, you've still got them guys who are on 350, 300. I want to be on 280, 250. And the club go, yeah, but that's the old regime. We're clamping down on that. And then they go, well, De Ligt is still on 290, Mount's on 250. I need to be on that. You almost need to. It sounds harsh, but I think Rashford was almost the sacrificial lamb in the initial instance of that. I think a lot of it would be down to him. I don't know whether I think obviously his heart's always going to be with United, but I don't know whether he has the want to play for United anymore. I think he lost that, and I think that's part of the reason why he went to Villa. Then he's gone to Barcelona. I think it was very much so like whatever was happening, personal or on the pitch, it was just time for him to start again. And also, again, similar to a lot of top players, he's been playing top football from 16 or something on that.
He broke out there quick, didn't he?
Yeah, so he played a lot of football in the first 10 years where his body's slowing down a bit. I know he had that bad back injury in like 2020. He went to the World Cup. He had a shoulder injury, shouldn't have gone, or the Euros when he should have had surgery. So he's had probably 2 big injuries which have slowed him down. I think Carrick would open arms, but I think if Rashford was to come back, he would almost have to swallow his pride, almost like he's done at Barca, to know that like if you work hard, you'll play.
Yeah.
But if you're not, we've got Cunha, we've got Mbeumo, we've got Sesko, we've got Ahmad. You'll sit on the bench and you'll come off the bench, or you won't come off the bench. And then the last thing that you mentioned, the fans. The issue is I don't think some fans will just allow him grace. I think they've gone past the thing of like, you have a good game, you'll have a bad game.
Yeah.
You're not the player that we thought you might be, and that's fine. I think it's very much so people still see Rashford as the 24-year-old in lockdown flying past players and putting the ball through people's legs and step over and stuff. He does that sometimes, but he's not that. He can still hit a ball and it'll fly in the top corner, and he'll whip a ball in from crosses and assists, but he's not that electric and that kind of nimble, and which is understandable because he's had a lot of football played. So I think it's a great option. If he was to come in the squad and we now say we don't need to sign a left winger, but we have Rashford and Cunha rotating, I think
it changes.
It's not bad. Yeah, it
changes it. We're still getting over the Anthony days, mate. So it absolutely changes it.
And I know Rashford, he'll have it, the hunger in him. Champions League nights, Old Trafford. He's going to say, I'm playing in this. This is the issue. Sometimes you feel like he turns it on and he doesn't. But when you've got other good players, sometimes you can afford to kind of say, right, you're not going to play. Most of Rashford's career, unfortunately, we relied on him. I think people forget that, at 21, him and Martial were like leading the line and they were getting criticism. But when you look at it, if he didn't have them, we'd probably be in like mid-table. So I think if Barcelona don't sign him, I don't know where he goes. That's the issue.
You don't think a PSG or I don't think I think if Italy are involved, it would be a loan to buy scenario again, which we've now had our fingers burnt twice with Villa and with Barca. But I don't want it to roll on until the last day of the transfer window, and he just goes back on loan to Barca. I think if he does that, I think United lose all credibility as a selling club, and we know for so long we have been one of the worst selling clubs in the world.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think 2 things have to happen. You either say, right, Barca aren't having him. Any team can have him on loan, and we pay half the wages, because you're going to get so many teams, Premier League teams, German teams. You're going to get teams from Spain. if you try and do the thing where he gladly took a pay reduction, but he might not do that again. And he did that because it's Barcelona.
Yeah.
If you say you can go to Napoli, but take 150k pay reduction, he might say, yeah, but it's Napoli, it's not Barcelona. So I think we just need to be careful. I agree with what you're saying, Dan, in terms of you lose credibility. I think it's a case of you either just say, right, we're just going to take 5-10 million less and cut our losses. At least you've got the wages off the book, or you're going to loan him and we're going to pay half the wages.
Yeah, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Ben says, to be fair, we could see Rashford going to Bayern Munich, and Hitlers Carpi says Rashford got fucked over by having multiple different managers. There is a conversation for that, to be fair. Rashford looked his happiest under Solskjaer in the lockdown years, because Solskjaer was a manager that pretty much arm around the shoulder, absolutely adored him. You could tell that. Now, interestingly, Ben, we'll come back to Mainoo quickly, and because a couple of comments here. So I'd be happy to sell Mainoo, which is pure PSR, FFP, and reinvest to bring in Anderson, Tonali, and Stiller. And then also we've got Andy saying, "Is Kobbie a luxury? We don't need in midfield." Now, I'm gonna let Tez come in, but before I don't see why we even think about this. Kobbie Mainoo is still a young lad. This lad has won an FA Cup, scored in the FA Cup final, might I add, played in the Euros final against a Spain team that is absolutely electric. And also, I think he played in the did he make an appearance in the Carabao Cup final? I think he was in the squad, because I remember him making his debut against Villa. I can't get my head around this sort of not anger, but this questioning Kobbie Mainoo's ability. I think this kid can really, really grow into something phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I agree, and he's 20.
He's 20 years old.
And all those things you've listed already, he's 20 years of age. And I think a lot of fans aren't happy because they think that Mainoo is part of the reason why Amarin got sacked, in the sense of Mainoo said, I want to leave, I want to play. The reason why he did that is because he's already made his debut at 18 for England, played in the most pivotal moments, played in the final, was praised for it, as you just mentioned, scored and was one of the better players in an FA Cup final against the best team in the league. And he's probably thinking, hold on a minute, this manager's not going to play me and there's a World Cup. If I go down this trajectory and miss this World Cup, there's no guarantee that I'm going to be playing consistently. If this manager's here, I might miss a World Cup. They don't come around often. I've already seen what it's like to go to the Euros and get to a final. So it's a case of him doing what is right for his own career. The person who said Mainoo's a luxury midfielder, I'm going to combat that, Andy, by saying that Mainoo's one of those midfielders that if he wasn't playing for Man United and he played for Palace, or he played for Blackburn,
the words right out of my mouth.
Played in one of these other smaller teams, everyone would say, oh my God, United need a midfielder just like that. He's really comfortable on the ball. He can dribble. He takes players on. He's only 20. We should sign him.
How much would we want to pay for him as well? We'd be happy to pay 60, 70 million.
Exactly. So I think United fans, because we lack energy and mobility in midfield, we then look at Mainoo as being the person who is the issue. He's not an issue. He's just different to that.
Right.
Because, for example, how can I give an example? I don't think Mainoo is any more or any less robust than Zubimendi. I don't think Mainoo is any more or less robust than Tielemans. I don't think he's any more or less robust than Lavia. I could keep going down the league. There's so many midfielders who are so similar in terms of physicality. It's just that because he plays for United, we analyse the problems a lot more granular. To sell Mainoo to sign Stiller, you're then going to go and say, okay, we've got Stiller, Tonali and Anderson, but we need a midfielder that can do what Mainoo can do. So it doesn't really make sense. And lastly, on the Mainoo thing, his role's changed. So people are looking at Mainoo based on what they saw at Ten Hag rather than what he's doing at Carrick.
Yeah, I agree.
Casemiro's the one getting in the box. Casemiro's the one who's being box to box. Mainoo's the safe pair of hands.
Yep.
If you actually look at the stats and people say he's not good defensively, he tops the stats for ball recoveries, for interceptions. And even though he doesn't make a lot of forward passes, his forward pass percentage is higher than the other midfielders. So realistically, if you go and get rid of him, you're just going to look for someone. And I think the key thing that people forget about playing in midfield, not just at Man United, but for any top team and for your international team, you need to have personality.
Yeah.
Mainoo isn't scared. A lot of United fans used to say, like, McTominay doesn't do anything. And that was because I genuinely think it was a lack of confidence. He would be safe, he'd be scared. Garner got sold. But I remember when Garner made his debut, came on in a cup game. He didn't have the same confidence at 16, 17 that he does now.
Yeah.
And young players in midfield, when they have the confidence, I think you just gotta shape them. Mustafa has also mentioned Jim Thwaite. Yes, Jim Thwaite is talented and he's a great player, but the only thing with him is he hasn't got the physical size of Mainoo.
Yeah.
And he's amazing. I think he's amazing, but he's amazing at under 18 level.
Yeah.
Mainoo at 17 was like, Ten Hag was taking him everywhere. He was like,
and he was playing in the six. He was playing in the six.
Yeah, it was like, next season, I can't wait for you to play. It was like, so there's levels to it.
I was there at Old Trafford when he made his. I think it was his competitive debut for us in the Carabao Cup Villa.
The cup.
Yeah. And he against Villa, he literally come on, and I went, oh, this is one of the. I was with my uncle. I said, this lad's highly rated. Apparently, he picks the ball up, spins. I think it was Douglas Luiz or John McGinn, and off he goes. And I was like, this kid's 17.
Yeah,
he's just done that to a seasoned pro. And I look, I think Mainoo divides the fan base more than he should. And to go back on what you said, if this lad's playing for a Palace, for a Wolves, for I don't know, a Villa, anyone, and we're watching him, I guarantee we are all saying this is the next midfielder for England. We have to get him. I think sometimes as United fans, I think sometimes we may get a bit greedy. I think we look and we go, oh, but we're linked with Tonali, we're linked with Anderson, and these players have had fantastic seasons. Now, the difference with Mainoo this season, yes, there have been games where he hasn't been at the races, but when you look at Manchester United's midfield, the only people we've got that can compete for a spot in that centre of midfield, well, there's only one, Ugarte, and I'm not playing Ugarte. Tezky, I'm 39. I'm playing myself over Ugarte. I ain't doing that. So I think there is that element of, because the players aren't there to bring him off, and if he's not performing how he wants to and changing it up, then there's that. But this kid's 20. He's done so much more than a lot of players at his age did, in their careers. And I just think under the right tutelage with be it Carrick, which we'll talk about in a second, I think this kid goes on and does so much, and it's no shock that the second the England squad's announced he's playing and he's brought straight back into the squad. Tuchel said, didn't he? I was looking at Shaw, I was looking at Maguire, I was looking at Mainoo, but they were playing. One of them wasn't playing, and the other two were playing in a formation that we don't play. I think the second he knew that he had minutes in him, it was like bring him straight back in. I think the kid's got a massive future for us. I really do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, on top of that, it sounds so strange, but I don't know whether the way the Premier League is, people are not basically kind of clamoring for his skill set. Whereas maybe if this was 5 years ago and City were the 4-5, and City were the top team, and you're talking about possession and breaking down the deep block, and rather than this like box to box kind of like franticness, then he's looked at differently.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee if Mainoo was playing for Inter Milan, not Inter Milan, sorry, a Spanish team, Atletico Madrid or whatever, and we saw him on international level, and he's playing for Spain, people would be like, oh my God.
Mate, they would be. I mean, this kid could play in the Spain midfield. He would slot into that Spain midfield, and we'd be going, "Oh my God, what a talent! Like, what have we just watched?" So, I think we just get greedy. I think that's the issue. But look, obviously, to close, there was a question asked at the start by Andy. what do we think, Carrick or another manager now? You know, you're quite vocal about this on X, Twitter, whatever they bloody want to call it. Look, for me, I think unless you can get an Enrique, and I think that is, I don't see there being a chance of that. I think he stays at PSG. I look around with the candidates that are available, and honestly, Tesga, I say, just give him the bloody job. Now, there has to be a caveat with that, and I've been very vocal about this. I've said we can't go down the same route as what we did with Solskjaer, which is, there you go, three-year contract with an extension if you need it. I think you say to Carrick, right, absolutely, you've done everything that we wanted you to do. I mean, for Christ's sake, actually, you've got us third, which we never expected. Here's the contract. It's a 12-month with an extension if you can maintain Champions League, or you give them a 2-year deal. I think United have got to be savvy in what they do with this manager. But I think with him, mate, it's not just him, it's Stevie Holland as well. I think the two of them have done so well coming in and doing what they've done, going back to the basics. I'm happy to keep him there. If he's announced tomorrow, I'm not losing sleep over it.
Yeah, I think they need to be clever, and a lot of people don't want Carrick off the basis of because it didn't work with Solskjaer, which doesn't make any sense at all, because they're two completely different people. I understand Carrick was a coach there, but part of the reason why United got back to being in the Champions League and in the top 3 was because McKenna and Carrick were the brains on the coaching field.
Great.
And that was 5 years ago. So you think 5 years development, and he's been a coach of a championship team, which nearly got into the Premier League as well.
They got pulled apart. So, they got pulled apart with players, didn't they?
Exactly. Different things happen. So I don't think it's the same situation. And also, the United squad now doesn't need. Yes, it needs investment and the turnover, but Solskjaer coming into that predicament after Jose was very much different to Carrick, because Carrick has taken on some of the players that were signed for the club. Yeah. So which automatically shows that I think he's going to be in agreement of, like, he might have a nod and say, I prefer that one and prefer that one, which every manager will, but I don't think they're going to go down a route of, like, we need to change our whole way of playing to suit this manager. I also do think with Carrick, and I said it even when he was hired, I think if you're going to go and get a Glasner, an Iriola, who else is linked? Marco Silva, De Zerbi, these types. What's the point in getting them? That's equally or even bigger a risk than getting Carrick.
Agree.
Regardless of whether Carrick does really well or not, it's still the same kind of thing, because they've never had the magnitude of a club like that. Whereas Carrick has coached here for 4 or 5 years and been a player, so that adds, and also players who are still here were here when he was a coach.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's probably young players who were probably in the under 21s or whatever, who probably saw him playing and thought, you know what, I could be like that. Yeah. Not to say that he's just going to be like our own kind of messianic figure or anything, but I think what you probably do with someone like Carrick, and I think this is what the board might do, but they should do anyway, is they should still speak to people. I think you almost... I don't know about doing the 12-month thing, because I think that doesn't show him enough. 2 years I can understand, because I think even only Amarin had like a 2-year contract as well. I think what you should probably do is like ask him to basically interview again.
Yeah.
So like that was your 6-month period. You've passed your probation with flying colours. We want to keep you on for longer term.
Got a car park space. We've put that there for you.
Yeah. Your own locker, all that kind of stuff. But now this is the next iteration. Like, what's your plan when you have 5 more players because you've got a bigger squad? What happens when you do Champions League? What's your training schedule going to look like because you're playing 3 games? And I think obviously he'll go back to, well, I did this when I was with Ollie and McKenna. Yeah. And also Championship, don't forget, they play like every other day. So facts. He's had, I know it's not the same level, but he knows what it's like to kind of say, well, we're playing, rest, playing, train, rest, play. And also he did it as a player as well. It's not like he didn't do that for the majority or all his United career. So he knows what it's like to utilize, like, we're not going to train that much, but we're going to play a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's testament because the players, you can tell the way the players are talking in comparison to Amran. They're just talking like, yeah, it's like we enjoy training. Yeah, Carrick does this or the coaching does that. And I think the biggest thing, Carrick will probably be the first manager in the previous three, not counting Van Nistelrooy, but Ten Hag and Amran, who isn't going to think of being Man United manager as them being the saviour.
I agree.
I think the other managers were like, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the one. If I can't do it, it's no one else. And then I think Carrick is going to be very much so like, well, I'll be the face. But if you go and get me that really experienced coach, and that experienced coach were a good team, I think that's what United have lacked.
I agree. I agree.
How about you? Who's your kind of?
I mean, it's tough, isn't it? Because as I said, it's Enrique. I think everyone wants Enrique, and I can see why. I think what I like about Enrique is he doesn't want that. He's not asked with the people who think they're superstars and the big egos. He wants a team that gets down and works on it. But the thing for me with Carrick that just, oh God, it just excites me so much is when United aren't playing, he's at all the youth games. He is doing his due diligence. And I mean, he even moved a press conference a couple of weeks ago so he could go to one. And in my mind, what that says to me is there's a manager there who isn't necessarily just thinking, well, I want 5-6 players coming in transfer-wise that are going to change my team. What I want to be able to know that if I've got this job pre-season, I'm taking 5 or 6 from the youth and giving them that opportunity. We know JJ Gabriel is going to be an absolute baller if developed correctly. So I'm happy for Carrick to come on board. I think, as you said, make sure the coaching staff around him is correct. We did it right with getting Steve Holland in. Jonathan Woodgate seems to have got quite a good rapport with the players. They're very complimentary of him. I just think this summer, man, it's get the manager appointed straight away. Get that sorted. The second that last ball is kicked on that last day of the season, pretty much like we did with Cunha, where we went out and we said, right, Cunha, we're signing him. It's done. I think that's what we need to do, mate. And I think obviously with the World Cup, it doesn't help because Carrick in the pre-season, which is brilliant. It's going to be played across Europe this time, not going to bloody America. It's just stupid. I think what that does for us, I think he's going to have to utilize a lot of players that haven't gone to the World Cup because they will get time off. I think we're going to see a group of youngsters come through and get opportunities. And I think also, I just think he's good for the development of some players as well. I think Aidan Heaven really enjoys playing under him. Aidan Heaven's come out and said several times about how much of an effect Johnny Evans has had and the fact that we've got obviously Jonathan Woodgate there. I think it sometimes things just happen for a reason and they fall into place. I agree that he should be interviewed, but ultimately what he's done so far with a squad that we didn't expect to be where we are, I think he's done a really good job. I think he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, I do. And I thought hopefully it continues. I think the misconception of, I'm not saying you, but some of the United fans is that because we're almost so close, or in our minds we think we're so close, or it seems that we can just go and get the best manager. We just get top players and it just aligns. And I think I said it on another platform, another show, is that all of the recent champions, whether that was like Klopp's Liverpool, even with Slot, Pep, over this last 5, 6, 7 years, they've built and maybe Arteta as well. They've built momentum.
Correct.
They've had a manager and a team where you can say like, "Oh, they're nearly there, they're nearly there, they're nearly there, they're there." And Slot, obviously, he fell into that, but Liverpool have been a well-oiled machine for 5, 6, 7 years, so he was able to. Most other teams, unless they've really got top talent in the league, kind of falls away, like Leicester and Spurs at certain points. You have to build. Even with Spurs, Pochettino built on it and built on it and built on it.
Pep come in and had to rip that team apart. He didn't win it in his first season, did he?
Yeah, exactly that. And it's a case of like, right, this is the vision. Get your recruitment right. And then if the manager doesn't work, at least you've got the recruitment right where you can say, thank you, that this manager's taken us to here. We just need the extra bit without going over the top. Not like what we did when we got Ronaldo and Sancho and Varane. That was the wrong window for Ollie and we were building. We needed another few more players who can buy into it, not ready-made. And I think, I know Enrique builds and stuff, but I mean, Enrique had the best front three the world's ever seen. Messi, Suarez.
Yeah, he had a pure FIFA front three, didn't he?
And then he has Mbappe, and then he's like, okay, I don't need Mbappe because I've got Dembele. Then you get Doué, he's probably one of the best young French attackers, and then you got Hakimi and Mendes, probably the best fullbacks. And so you're not talking about, even though he's developing, he's not developing players of a lower standard. They're still going and getting the best talents, or some of the best talents, and he's able to build a kind of an atmosphere for them to develop. But I think United, so I'm very happy to go with Carrick, knowing that we might not win anything under Carrick, but we're going in the right direction, and we finish second or third again.
Yeah,
I'm happy with that because it's sustainable that way. Because then if you think, well, Carrick's done this for 2 years and he's not the man, you then go and get the Enrique or the Nagelsmann or whatever, who can then go on top. But when you go from, remember we were 16th, and under Amarin this season we're around 6th or 7th. Now we're looking like 3rd. That's not a true reflection. Even Ten Hag, we were 8th, then 2nd, 3rd. So you don't actually know where United are. It's like here or down there.
We've just been beneficiaries of a terrible season from other teams, aren't we? Really?
Yeah, we just need 2 years. This season finish 3rd and go and finish 2nd or 3rd again, and then try and win a cup. And then that 3rd season, when some of your 21-year-olds are now 23, 24, and you've had 3 good windows, you go, right, this is your season to try and trump.
Agree.
So I think that's the best way forward.
Love that. We'll close it on one question. And thanks, Ben. Make sure you are smashing the likes, guys. Thank you very much. And Andy, appreciate that. It has been a cracking show tonight. Always is when Tezky comes on. Tezky, he describes players and their attributes poetically. It's fantastic. Honestly, it's fantastic. But one question that has been asked, and I mean, we're getting close to the summer now, and people obviously losing their heads on how bad they were last night. And I won't ask you to delve too much into it, mate, because I think there's a lot more things that could happen in between them. But how are England getting on in the World Cup this summer?
It's a bit unfortunate for England, because I know some people are looking at the squad and they're saying like, oh, it's regressed and the players aren't the same. I just think a lot of England players are tired. They just look knackered. Rashford's not the same Rashford because he's older. Saka looks knackered. Maguire's obviously 3-4 years older. Stones is never fit. Walker's not there anymore. So you're talking about the main kind of spine that took England to back-to-back finals under Southgate is changing. Yeah. And I think Tuchel knows that, but because he knows that, he's trying to experiment. And he almost needs to just not experiment.
Stick with what he knows. And
just the odd player here and there. This whole, like, I'm not Trent's biggest fan in terms of defensively, but it's international football. Like, you've got one chance, 15 minutes to go. Reece James might be tired. You're not going to bring on Jed Spence. Come on.
No, no chance.
You've got Livramento. Yeah, he's a good player, but Trent can put the ball anywhere he wants. If you give him time, he can put it anywhere he wants. And those are the fine margins in a game where you think, what's the risk versus the reward? Do we bring on Trent for 15 minutes to try and create 4 chances? Because he can do that.
Yeah.
And we try and win. We have someone like a Welbeck or Solanke off the bench or whoever. Rather than trying to be a bit too cutesy and clever, he's doing a bit too many club. He's being too much of a club manager.
I agree. Honestly, everything you're saying, it's exactly after watching rewatching the last 2 games. I'm like, he's just trying to tinker here, and it's not working.
This whole conversation of Rodgers over Bellingham, stop it. This is a Bellingham who's been playing at the top level since he's 16, winning the Champions League, winning La Liga, captain in Dortmund. When it comes to time, you can say what you want about his attitude and ego and stuff. That's exactly what you want. France do it with Mbappe. Spain do it in a different way because they have a bit more of a team, a united team. But they don't say, oh, Yamal doesn't pass the ball or track back. It's like, get it to Yamal.
Yeah.
Argentina aren't going to say, Messi's walking. Messi's walking around too much. Let's not play Messi. No,
Yeah.
build your team around that, and it's very much so. Let Kane and Bellingham do what they do. Get other players to do what they do, and if it doesn't work, then you make your changes. I think when you try and do too much, then I just think international football doesn't have to be as complicated. You're gonna go into games where psychologically teams are going to be scared, so the quality might not be that different. But I saw a clip of France versus Colombia, and someone made a clip of the bench, and then they were like, if this is the bench, who's on the pitch? Because they played the B team. And Mbappe, Ekitike, Dembele, Olise, and Tchouaméni were on the bench, and they were like, if that's on the bench, who's on the pitch? And they still had Kante, who captained the team, Zaire Emery. Then their front line was Thuram, Doué, Cherki, and Akalouche. And you're thinking, wow, that team could beat most teams. And France don't mess up. Yeah.
We're still going with Foden. You know what I
mean? Yeah, like just come on. You can take him, but he's not going to. Don't mess things up. Just until they don't show they've earned their right. It's the same. It seems like the only position where they don't want to mess around with three players who they think, no, we're not going to mess around. Pickford, Rice, and Kane. They've just said, like, you guys are going to play. But I think 9 out of the 11 pick themselves. The only ones where you say, oh, I'm not sure. Maybe left wing, maybe left back, right back. That's it.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I don't want to see Rodgers starting and Bellingham on the bench. That is ridiculous. No offense to him, good player. Any Villa fans, they're good player, but let's be real. Be serious.
Oh, I love that. Look, Tezky, it's been I say it's been a minute, mate, but we've got to do this again more regularly.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely loved having you on, and it's good. It's good to talk out different players in different positions, and also talk out where United are. And no, I appreciate you, brother, coming on tonight. It's been absolute class. Just let them know where they can find you, mate.
Yeah, my art is Tezky. I mean, my name's Teza, but my art is Tezky on everything. I keep saying, I have been actually writing football articles. My plan was to try and do a couple a month, but with work and other stuff. And
United have got you, mate, because you're doing the skating. That's what's happened, isn't it?
That's it. And other stuff I don't, but I will have more articles coming in the next couple of weeks. I've got like 3 that I've written 75%, and they just need the last bit.
I can't wait.
So yeah.
And guys,
just follow me on X, and I'll post.
Go and do it. Go and do it. This guy, honestly, as I say, you will read. You haven't read a scouting report until you've read a Tezky scouting report, because there's some players, Tezky, I'll look at and I'll go, no, don't fancy them, and then I'll look at what you've written up, and I'll be like, fuck, he's right, actually, he's right. I've looked at this the complete wrong way, but no, mate. Look, massive appreciation of you coming on. We will do this soon, guys. Thanks for your comments. No, sorry we couldn't get through all of them. We were on very much. We got through a lot tonight. I'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. as usual. But as always, guys, thank you. Make sure you hit the like on the way out. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. And as always, remember, pain is temporary. Class is permanent. Dan United and Tezky. Oopta.